Before I forget, let me take this opportunity to thank the organizers, Partnership for Safe Medicines, for inviting FDA to participate in today's event. We're very glad to be here, very glad to hear and share information with everybody, and see some old friends and familiar faces as well. Thank you. In hearing some of the other talks this morning and over lunch, I think we're hearing a common theme here, a couple of things. So we've got enforcement and regulatory activity that needs to be happening, but as this panel is focusing on is what can we do to help the patient or the healthcare providers to protect the patients basically from counterfeit or other substandard medicines. And I'm going to be throwing different terms around. I know the primary focus was counterfeits, but with the formation of the new office of ODSER, we focus on all of those types of compromised medicines, counterfeits, substandard, adulterated, stolen, diverted, everything. And like I think Mike mentioned earlier, that we treat them all equally as a public health issue or public health risk, although they might be handled a little bit differently. Now that we have this office, we're able to tackle them in a reactive state, but we're also able to be proactive in some of the strategies that we're working on. And the consumer piece is a big part that just in recent years we've taken on a lot of different initiatives to try to build the information that we're able to provide out to the public and to consumers and patients, and also healthcare providers. 10 years ago, I don't know if we would say that this was our role. FDA has a lot of information about drugs. We have a lot of information about drug safety. We get a lot of information post-market, and we started to push that information out. I mean, that's our responsibility. But I think the consumer focus really has come to be just more recently in the last probably 5 to 10 years. So I think pretty everybody in the room is fairly aware and knows about why these medicines are dangerous and why they're potentially harmful and why we need to try to keep them out of the goods supply chain and try to keep them from reaching our patients. Of course, I'm going to be focusing on U.S. patients, but as we've heard, it's not really just a U.S. problem. It's actually a global problem as well. And I think we also heard several times today that there is an issue of knowledge and awareness, basic level of understanding for patients. And for this panel, when I was trying to think, well, what's the role of the patient? And that was a little harder for me to get to. I think it was a little easier to describe the role of the healthcare provider and pharmacists, doctors, because I think that's where the patients will be getting their information. So you'll see a little bit of overlap. I think for patients, they're sort of or considered the innocent bystander, in a sense that we as regulators and as stakeholders in the industry, I think, have a responsibility to make sure that the products that they receive are safe and effective and of high quality. I mean, that's what they deserve, and that's what they're relying on us to do. So I'm not really going to, when I talk about the role of the patients, it's not really directly what they can do, but in essence, what we can be doing to help them to protect themselves. So, so I raised this question to the group, what can we do to raise patient and healthcare provider awareness of the risks? I think we heard other people say that this is a challenge. It's a challenge for FDA as well. We've heard a lot of references to the internet, and yes, the internet is a big source of the problem, at least for counterfeit medicines. And this is a Wordle. Are people familiar with Wordles? I find these kind of fun. So aside from me thinking that this is a really cool picture, this actually was a little bit of analysis done, this buzz analysis that Nielsen Company did for us. It's just a snapshot of about a year's worth of internet activity. What's the buzz on the internet? What are people talking about? What are they asking about? And so what these wordles do is based on sort of the frequency or volume of a particular word, and we help to develop the words that the analysis would focus on. And the bigger the word, the more often it showed up on these blogs or other sort of discussion forums online. So you can see here, people are asking or talking about prescription drugs. How do I get them? How do I buy them? Okay, Canadian is on there and Canada is on there twice. But does anybody see the word safety in there? It's very hard to see, but the word safe is there. It's at the very top. Let's see. Does this have a laser? Okay. I did find it. It's right here. Now look how big that is compared to some of these other words. And these wordles, of course, can be interpreted in different ways, okay? But this is sort of my interpretation, that the average consumer in this sample, okay, there are some, obviously it showed up, so that's a good sign. Some are concerned about the safety of the medicines that they're getting online, but it's not the main issue. It could be cost, it could be, does it work, any other issues. So I thought this was kind of fun to look at. What can patients do? Okay, I can't read my own slides up there. We've been struggling with this, and we're trying to work with other folks. We've got some different initiatives going on. But we do have some information on our website, but I'm not sure that we're doing the best at getting that information out to patients. And as Mike alluded to earlier, we're not sure that patients are coming to FDA's website for this information. So when he was talking about trying to get to those people that are interested or considering purchasing drugs on the internet, at the point of purchase or at the point of their decision that they're going to make, that's what we're trying to focus on more and seeing if we can target with our messaging and our consumer messages and education. So we are trying to work on improving our educational campaign on buying online. I mean, the red flags are still the same for how can you do it safely? Well, buy from a U.S. pharmacy. Make sure you need a prescription. These are the red flags that other people have referred to. Those will all stay. But I think we need to think a little bit differently on our approach on what we're actually providing that consumers can use, that can be useful. And we've got some things in the works there. What else do I have here? Oh, no, I can't read over there. I'm going to have to do this. Know where these drugs are coming from. So that's what I said. Make sure you're buying from a U.S. pharmacy. That's easy for us to say, but not easy for an average patient to do, right? Inspect the product. Does the product look different than the last time that you got it? Do the tablets look different? Are they chipping? Are they cracking? Are the seals of your bottles intact? Beware of the risk, and that's something that I think we are all challenged at doing, and we need to do a better job is getting that risk information out there and educating them. Watch out for spam, or pharmaceutical spam. I mean, I think these are some very obvious red flags, too, that we haven't been telling our patients, but I think might be useful. And is really basically, if they say they're offering cheaper drugs, or big discounts, or FDA-approved drugs for cheap prices, I think these should be the red flags that we might be wanting to highlight versus try to make sure that they're licensed in the US. I think that might be easier for a consumer to find than some of these other red flags that we have been promoting. And then, of course, consider if you have feel a change in taking your medicine. Talk to your pharmacist at that point. And then anytime there is any product quality issue, we encourage patients, also healthcare providers, to report through our MedWatch program. That's the way that FDA will find out about these problems and then can assess them after that. So my next slide, which is about what healthcare providers do, it's very similar. And like I said, there is overlap because I feel like we need to do a better job also at educating our healthcare providers because they could be our sort of extended arm and be able to convey that information to patients. So it's a lot of the same information, but a little bit different in the sense that when I say as a healthcare provider, whether you're a physician and you're getting drop shipments, or you're administering drugs in your office, or you're a pharmacy. Know who you're doing business with, and know where they're getting their product. That's something important. You've heard us talk about some other initiatives like track and trace, and all these tie together. But as somebody that handles drug product, you think you have a responsibility to know where that came from and what was the source. And if you have trusted partners, that's great. Safeguard your products, inspect the packaging, same thing, and destroy your empty containers. We've heard about some of these issues where empty containers are being collected and filled with counterfeit or candy, whatever, and either put into returns or attempt to put back into the supply chain. It's something that I think people just never thought about. Who's going to pick the trash? Educate and counsel patients. And this was targeted, I'm a pharmacist, I usually target pharmacists, and that's why we're talking about counseling, but physicians can do this as well. When you have patients that have a concern about the cost of their medicines, I think somebody had mentioned earlier, there are assistance programs. You need to tell them about them. And maybe we are not doing a good job at getting that information out to the healthcare providers to convey to the patients. But also that there are potentially generics that cost less too, that there's a generic option. So these are some of the things that they could do. And again, don't ignore patient complaints. Because we know in the past that it was a patient complaint about their tablets that led us to find counterfeits that actually reached the pharmacy and reached patients a few years ago. And again, report any suspect product quality issues through our MedWatch program. So that again, I think there are many areas that we can work on to improve what we're doing. I mean, as an agency, but also as stakeholders in this to improve the information that we're getting out to healthcare providers, in addition to trying to target the right audience, and when we're talking about consumers. Somebody had mentioned about I don't know what it was something less than 10% of those patients out there that know that they're buying a counterfeit and they don't care. Well, I don't think we should really spend any resources on that, because those people already know about the risk and they're going to do it no matter what. I think we need to focus on those patients that are deciding or thinking about it or considering it or looking for options, that those are the ones that we want to target. And we've tried to look to see what research is out there, and there's some, but not a lot. And we're trying to do some of our own, but if there are other organizations that could also support these types of studies, I think it would help all of us to know, because I think somebody else had said earlier, how can we learn more about those people that may decide to buy their medicines online, and there is a safe way for them to do that, and that's what we need to also try to convey. So balancing the risks in addition to how to do it safely, it's not going to be an easy thing, but we hope that through different partnerships and collaborations that we can do a better job at this together. So thank you.